Oh, thank you so much for having me, Deirdre, and thank you all of you for coming. I know that it is really hard sometimes to look at a screen. So please don't feel that you need to, like Deirdre said, it'll be recorded and you can go back to it whenever you'd like. Um, so I am a meditation teacher. I am a former special ed teacher, and I'm not a medical professional. I am a meditation professional. But in my experience, meditation and medicine for migraines work very, very well together. I have had migraines myself, gosh, for over 26 years. So I totally understand. I've I've been there. My daughter also has debilitating migraines. So I totally understand. And I have found meditation to be just a magnificent healing support for my migraines. So I want to share in this presentation with you practices that are appropriate for adults and also for children. I want to, I don't know what everyone's background is on meditation, but being a former early childhood teacher, I always like to just kind of start at the beginning. So if you are an experienced meditator and you're like, oh my gosh, I already know all this stuff, I apologize, but I just want to share the way that I see meditation and the way that I present it, because I think, and we'll get into that, there's just so many myths and misconceptions about meditation. And there's so many ways that I find people turn to me and they find that meditation becomes a stressor to them. I was doing a podcast yesterday for an organization here in the States, and I was hearing like, yeah, this is just another thing that I have to do. And it was also for a chronic illness podcast, but people were very much feeling pressured by meditation. And I really want to kind of dispel that myth today and just share ways that meditation can be a relaxing component to your life and certainly not a stressor. So with that said, I also want to say that I am very new to using PowerPoint. So I hope that everything goes well with this. So my apologies, because I am a meditation teacher, but not a Zoom professional. Um, Also, having attended many talks and workshops in my career as an educator, I really want to make sure that you leave our time tonight with some takeaways, some ideas, and some practices that you can do yourself or share with your child. So feel free to take any notes and engage with this material in the way that you learn best. And then also at the end, I will share the We Meditate website information, where I just have tons of articles and information on different ways to practice meditation, games and mindfulness activities that you can do with children. And so you can just take your time and go through that, and you can learn a lot from our articles because they're really quite beneficial. So a little bit about me. I began meditating, 100 years ago when I was in college. And at that time, I did not have severe migraines. But the practice just brought me so much calm that it was something like once I began meditating, I knew that it was something I would want to do my whole life. Um, I started teaching meditation to the children in my early childhood and special education classroom, and then I began teaching it also to my own children. Teaching my students meditation was literally life changing for them, and also actually for me as a teacher. My students had disabilities, many of them had illnesses, and a lot of mental health challenges. Here in this country, there is a program called Title One, and Title One is a federally funded school program that is allocated to schools in urban or poverty communities. So as a Title One teacher, you are serving students from very disadvantaged life circumstances. So many of my students experienced food and home insecurity. Um, Many of them had parents that were incarcerated or, in the prison system. Many had substance abuse issues, addiction. There were a lot of children that came from domestic violence situations. Many were in foster care. So needless to say, they came to me on top of having disabilities. They also had just a lot of mental health needs, and they really had a lot of challenging behaviors. They all needed to feel connected to calm, and I found that meditation was the one way that I could bring that to them. We often said, as teachers, we only had them 8 hours a day, and then the rest of the time they were just in really challenging life circumstances. But I felt that by teaching them meditation, it was almost like a gift that I could give them where they could find calm in the midst of these circumstances that they had. I know one of my little boys was so sweet. His name was Drew. And he got sent to, I was a resource room teacher. So I don't know if you have that in the EU or Ireland or wherever, but basically I was a special ed teacher and students came to me for certain periods of the day where I taught them their skills. But oftentimes I found that the other teachers sent the students to me when they were misbehaving in their classroom and they just couldn't deal with them anymore. So this little fella, Drew, came to my classroom the one day and he was very out of sorts. And before I could even get him meditating, he kept saying to me, I'm tired. I couldn't sleep last night. And so I said to him, because I also had other students, and I said, well, honey, I said, why didn't you go to sleep? And he said, because there was too much fighting. And so I said, well, maybe next time you should shut your door. And he said, well, Mrs. G, I couldn't shut my door because we were at a phone booth. And what it turned out was they didn't have a phone in the home, and the mother and her boyfriend were arguing at a phone booth somewhere. So he was literally standing all night, cold while his mom was arguing. And so I said to him, would you like to meditate and relax with me? And so right then I was able to kind of gently, we had a little relaxation area in the classroom, and he was able to calm down. And I could just, see how meditation was just easing some of that stress that he had. And so that was a really meaningful time to me to see meditation working with a child from adverse life circumstances. Because of the meditation in the classroom, again, with children that had a whole lot of things going on, I really saw that the children were kinder to themselves and kinder to others. They had much better emotional regulation. They were less reactional, less impulsive. And I think that for children with disabilities and illnesses, meditation just became this tool of empowerment for them. I taught it in very simple ways, much like the way that I teach We Meditate. And I was asked in the podcast yesterday, did you instantly see, the changes? The doctor that was on the podcast asked me this. And I told him, no. I said, when I first started teaching meditation to kids, they were silly. They had never done this before, getting therapy dough and inhaling it. I mean, the therapy dough at first wound up on the floor. The kids wound up on the floor. I mean, this was something that, and again, I'm a special ed teacher, so I knew that this wouldn't be, I'm going to give therapy dough to a child with autism or a child with a severe behavior handicap, and it's going to be instant Zen. I knew we would have a trial period. And at one point when I began teaching meditation, one of my principals came in and it was a little chaotic. I mean, we had therapy dough and we were using fidget toys and I was trying to teach them, and she just kind of had the habit of wandering in at always the worst time because my classroom was right next to the faculty restroom. So anytime there was a line there, she would just decide to wander into my classroom. And she kind of pulled me aside and she said, Mrs. Joya, she said, and this was the beginning of the year, she said, this meditation thing, it's really not exactly what I thought it would be. And I just said to her, it's new, give it time. And this is what I have also told parents. It's not that you introduce meditation at one instant and wow, your child is just all zenned out and there's no issues. It takes time, and we'll get into this, and it takes repetition and practice. It needs to become a habit. So I don't want anyone to think that all the inclusive meditation that I did came instantly. It didn't. It took time, but over time, and I'm going to say not a whole lot of time, but I'm going to say, after the first week, it wasn't silly anymore. And there was even a point where one of my students, it might have been the little boy that I mentioned earlier with the phone booth, because he definitely had a lot of behavior challenges, but we were starting to meditate and he was very attention seeking. His father had left them when he was very young, and he had a lot of grief and loss issues and separation. And he was being very silly and, again, falling off of his chair. And one of the other boys in the class said to him, "Drew, stop that. This is our meditation time." And, I was like, wow, because that really, and then the other kid kind of drew him back in line. And I was like, wow, they're really interested. He didn't want, because meditation was not our whole day. Obviously, it was probably maybe just 2 or 3 minutes. It was a little meditation story or an activity, but that was that meaningful to him that he didn't want another child to ruin that. So that was also very meaningful for me. Um, so about our brand, We Meditate, I wanted to share this story because I think this is probably the most profound student that I ever taught meditation to, who actually did inspire our brand, We Meditate. So a couple of years ago, I was a graduate student and I was working on my master's degree in special education. And I was assigned to teach a little boy named Max. Max was legally blind and he was losing his ability to walk. He was 8 years old and he had a progressive, debilitating, and incurable illness. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but it's called Batten disease. And he was not expected to live much beyond his early teen years. Because of the amount of physical deterioration that he was experiencing, he had a lot of anxiety. He had a lot of behavior problems. And the teachers before me really didn't know what to do with him. And I think that's why they gave him to me as a graduate student. I was told that he was unteachable, that his anxiety and his frustration precluded him from learning, and that the best that I could ever hope to do with him in my time with him, which was that year, was just to occupy him. The aide that was assigned to him said, "You will do nothing with this child." And she was actually one of the rudest people that I ever met. And she kind of very dismissively said to me, "He's not even going to live much beyond his teen years, so it doesn't really matter what you teach him." And it was horrible. And I had told my graduate advisor, and I kind of reported this woman. I was just like, this was just a horrible way to deal with such a child with such profound illness. And so I walked in and I sat down with him, and in this another resource room classroom, they had him at a table all by himself, and his task was to push pegs into a pegboard. And he was blind and he was struggling very much at this task that was very frustrating for him. And I honestly even questioned the task. What was even the purpose for him to be doing this? And it occupied him, I was told, because it was difficult for him. So I sat down with him and he was aggressive. He was very angry. He wasn't happy to have a new presence in front of him. And there were other professionals in the room, I think some occupational therapy. I mean, there were a lot of people in the classroom. And then there's me, new person with this very aggressive little boy who had just so many needs. And he was kind of yelling, and I could see that this was not going to go well at first. And then I was like, wait a minute, you teach meditation, and I was thinking, what can I do? I've never taught a child. I had taught children with vision impairment, but never a child that was completely blind. And so I have always taught meditation through nature, which, as you saw our little We Meditate world at the beginning, that was, in my classroom was how I did it, but I wasn't in my classroom anymore. And I grabbed a bunch of stuffed animals and I leaned over to him and I asked if I could hold his hand, and he said yes. So I was surprised. And I then gave him some stuffed animals. And I said, Max, I'm going to tell you a story. And he kind of leaned in a little bit. He was kind of surprised. I said, you're going to hold these stuffed animals and they are going to be characters in this story. And I'm going to put you in the story too. So if you want to meditate or relax, because most kids don't know the word meditation, I said, but you're going to learn how to relax. And so I began just making up a story as I went. And I made Max a little superhero because I found out that he loved superheroes. And I said, Max, we're going to relax together. And so within this story, with all the chaos in the classroom around us, I was just telling a story using meditation techniques. I think we did a little bit of breath work. We did a little bit of relaxing our muscles. And as I was telling him this story, again, it was a way he had never been taught before. I could visibly see him starting to relax. And so in that moment right there, I was like, this is really, it was special. It was kind of poignant, like this is really helping him. And then every day, I would work with him. And there was an afternoon that I came into the school after lunch. And as I was walking down the hall to his classroom where I was teaching him, I heard the little tapping of his little white-tipped cane coming down the hall. And I'm not quite sure how he knew it was me. Maybe he knew it was the time, or I don't know, my perfume or something. And he said, Mrs. Joya? And I said, yes, Max. And he said, are we going to meditate again today? And I said, oh, of course we are, Max. We meditate every day together. And he kind of like said, yay or yes or something. And again, I realized how meaningful the meditation was to him. So I got permission from my graduate advisor at the university and from his principal. And I rewrote his, I don't know how you do it in Ireland or in the EU, but here we call it an IEP. It's an individualized education plan. And he had a certain number of learning goals. And I asked if I could take those goals and rewrite them into a curriculum where I taught him through meditative stories. So first we would meditate and relax. And then through stories, I taught all of his IEP goals. And it was very hands-on. I used a lot of stuffed animals, and I don't know if you guys have Fisher Price toys over in Ireland or wherever, but I had these little little farm and forest animal toys that he would hold and he would feel as I told the story. So he learned all of his lessons through this meditative curriculum. Um, and he learned every IEP goal that year. His parents were amazed, and they told me that he was using meditation at home. They said that, he was hospitalized quite a bit. He missed a lot of school, but they said that he would use meditation. I don't know that he called it that, but they said that he would definitely be doing, he would say, well, Mrs. Joya taught me to do this. Or they said if he would be getting angry or frustrated, he would start doing the things that I taught him. So I knew then that it was working for him, not only in the classroom with me, but it was something that he was doing at home. And he was also doing it in medical appointments before procedures. So that, again, was just another really big moment for me to realize that meditation really does make a difference. And especially with a child with such a profound illness. He had just too many symptoms for me to tell you. He was ill very often, and Batten disease, from what I understand, is quite rare, but it is quite debilitating. And so that he kind of was my inspiration to create We Meditate, because I had found that there really was no meditation platform. There's a lot of big meditation brands. There's a lot of meditations on YouTube, but there was really nothing that made meditation exclusive, or I'm sorry, inclusive, and not exclusive, that brought in characters with disabilities and characters with illnesses, and then showed how meditation could be adapted for them. So Max really was my inspiration for We Meditate. And I think that it's really important, especially for parents, for professionals working with children, to really know that children kind of need to see themselves in meditation. I think even for adults, I've read where many adults even feel like, well, meditation isn't for me. Well, why is that? Well, I'm in a wheelchair and I can't get to a beach, or I'm not in that kind of position where I can do that. And I feel that I don't think meditation I don't exactly know why meditation is always really presented in a way that seems so out of reach for most people. And that's kind of really been my goal with everything that I do, is just to let people see what it is, and not that it's something to cause you more stress. So with that, let's just kind of move into what actually is meditation. Um, at its core, meditation can be explained in just two words. It's focused attention. It's that simple. You're focusing your attention for a period of time on something. It could be your breath, it could be a mantra, could be an object, could be a scent. It might be your feet walking barefoot on the ground, or it might be the feeling of your wheelchair rolling along the floor in a hospital and noticing the different smells that are around you. Could be watching clouds float across the blue sky. It's whatever you choose to focus your attention on for that period of time. And when you do that, for however long it is, if it's 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 minutes, you give your mind a rest. It kind of brings your mind back into a neutral space. It's a quiet place, and it kind of stops all that mental chatter and constant noise. But don't worry if you notice that you're thinking about your grocery list, or that you have to pick your child up at daycare. That's good. That means that you realized that your mind wandered, and then you bring it back to your object of focus. It doesn't matter. I think a lot of people tell me, well, I started meditating, and then I thought this, and this. Well, that's okay. But you realize that your attention wandered. That's what your mind does. You're not going to erase your thoughts. And I'll get into that here in the next slide. There's so many misconceptions about meditation. People think that it's all these things that it isn't. They think that you need to erase your thoughts, empty your mind. You're going to put forth this great effort. You're going to control your mind. You're going to force yourself to be still. Meditation is the exact opposite. I mean, unless you're in I don't know, a monastery or something, and I think probably their thoughts wander too. It's really just, I think of meditation really as like a river. It's just about accepting the present moment, allowing it to be just what it is, and then relaxing into that moment. And that's what I do with migraines. I just kind of allow them to be there. I'm not fighting them. I have a chronic illness that results in a lot of fatigue and chronic pain. And through meditation, it's just kind of allow it to be there. It's okay. I'm not fighting it. And then when I'm not fighting it and something is okay, it almost kind of, you don't notice it as much. And I think as you get into a meditation practice, you see that when you're not judging things and you're not trying to control your mind, um, you're not making a great effort to do something that's really impossible. So in allowing, you're relaxing. In allowing, you're releasing. And when you realize that your mind is always going to think thoughts, that's what your mind is supposed to do. It's always going to do it, and you don't need to fight it. I think it's when we fight things that we make them worse. I know that for myself, and I catch myself, or I used to a lot more. If I would feel a migraine coming on, it would be, oh my gosh, I feel, there's a trigger. I'm getting a migraine. Oh my gosh. And how am I going to teach tomorrow? How am I going to do this? And you start, your cortisol starts going up, and your adrenaline starts going up, and you're tensing and clenching, and the pain is getting worse. It's when I've just been, okay, this is what I'm having right now. And then I go into meditation practice. It just makes it so much better. Many times I can stop a migraine just through meditation alone and relaxing. Or if I do take medication, if I take medication, I find that meditation makes it work better. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not a neurologist, but I know that when I feel that when you relax, possibly, again, I'm not a doctor, but I feel that when you're maybe relaxed, it helps the medicine maybe work better just because you're relaxed. So again, I'm not a doctor, I can't say that for sure. Um, I also get asked this a lot. What is meditation and what is mindfulness? So they're words that you hear all the time now. And mindfulness is a component of meditation, but it's more something that you do throughout the day. So you can do a lot of things mindfully. You can mindfully eat your food and you can savor the textures and the flavors and, maybe the scent of your coffee or tea. You can mindfully wash your dishes. You can feel the warm water and the texture of the bubbles and the sponge and the plates and the scent of the dish soap. It's just really being in the moment of what you're doing to kind of keep your mind from, going down a rabbit hole, ruminating, worrying, all the things that our minds are so good at doing. For children, they might want to notice the way their teddy bear feels, or, feel the gooey blob of their toothpaste or the smell of it. Noticing the softness or the color of their blanket. There's a lot of ways that kids can be mindful through the day just in their activities. If they're coloring, feeling the texture of their colored pencil or their crayon on the paper. It's just kind of training your mind to just kind of be in the exact moment and really enjoy that present moment. Um, and both meditation and mindfulness can support your overall mental health and physical well being, especially during the times that you or your child have a migraine. So, why should we use meditation for migraine relief? Does it actually decrease the frequency of migraine episodes? Does it improve pain levels or increase your quality of life? And are there tangible benefits? Well, as I've said, I am not a neurologist and I can't speak to all of the causes of migraines and the best medicines and medical interventions to help them. But I do know that there is research, extensive research being done by very large medical research institutions around the world that are showing the correlation between a meditation practice and migraine relief. This includes a reduction of symptoms during a migraine and a reduction in the severity and frequency of migraines in those who regularly practice meditation. I have seen this firsthand. I've seen it with my children. And I also know that meditation is being used in the neurology department at a major US hospital. And I know this because I am the meditation teacher that writes many of the meditations that they use with their patients. And I receive amazing feedback about how the meditations that I have written for their patients elicit a relaxation response that alleviates stress and calms migraines and other chronic pain issues that they treat. So meditation works for me. It works for patients at this major US teaching hospital, and it can work for you and your child too. So, when you aren't feeling well or you are in pain, your body produces stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And high levels of cortisol result in many things like headaches, upset stomachs, tummy aches in children, muscle tightness, rapid heart rate, and anxiety. Meditation, on the other hand, releases endorphins, the feel good chemicals that reduce feelings of pain and illness. And meditation works in two ways. One, it does reduce cortisol through these increased endorphins, and it relaxes you when you are in a pain flare or a flare of illness. Second, when meditation is something that you do on a regular basis, it's kind of like running or weightlifting. The more you do it, the more benefits you get. And there is just so much research. We have a lot of it up on our website, but research that has found that meditation can reduce anxiety, result in better sleep, enhance immunity, improve focus, greater empathy, less depression, improve positivity, reduce heart rate, lower blood pressure, and more. Meditation isn't only used for migraines. There's numerous studies that it's used for people with heart disease. Uh, it's being used for, I know there's a study of women who've had breast cancer, um, being used for people after strokes. There's just research on meditation. It's mostly for adults right now. There are some studies being done now on children, but just in adults, meditation is being used in so many hospitals around the world and for so many different things, including migraine. So, with all of these benefits, I'm always asked, so how often should my child or I meditate? And I always say, well, how often do you brush your teeth or drink a glass of water? Or how often do you shower? Meditation, while you can get benefits if you just go on randomly and pull up a YouTube video and meditate, yes, you will get benefits, but it's kind of like I said, it's like exercising and it has cumulative benefits, meaning the more you practice it, the more you will experience the benefits. Like again, it's like running a mile or two or three and building up. You build your meditation muscle. And the more you practice meditation, the easier it becomes. And also the more that you find that you want to do it. It kind of just becomes ingrained in your routine. I know for myself, I get excited to go meditate. I mean, probably a meditation geek, but I really look forward to it. And, if I've been traveling and I don't get my meditation time, I notice a difference. I know we were traveling, my husband and I, a couple months ago, and we were staying with my mother-in-law, and she was anxious to get to my brother-in-law's house for a dinner. We were very early. And I said to her, I said, I need to meditate. And she was like, well, hurry up, hurry up and meditate. And I was like, I said, Sharon, I can't hurry up and meditate. I need to, take my time and kind of, ease into it. And again, we were plenty early, but I was trying to meditate and she kept saying, are you done yet? And it was kind of like, huh, not kind of the way I wanted to meditate, but I did get some meditation time in, but I do notice a difference in myself when I don't meditate. So how do you actually start meditating? And so the one thing I want to say is you need to really just take pressure off of yourself, take pressure off of your child. If it's something you want to do, you can do it. And it can look the way it looks for you, and it can look the way it looks for your child. It does not need to look like the Google image of someone in this perfect white outfit on a beach or a mountaintop. Meditation looks for you or your child exactly how you want it to look. I'm an older mom. My kids are grown, but I talk to a lot of younger moms, and again, I'm not like real tech savvy. I'm not on TikTok or Instagram. Well, I mean, we meditate is on Instagram, but my daughter does that. But I know that a lot of young moms talk to me, and they feel a lot of pressure in a lot of ways. Somebody had asked me, what do you think about all of this? And I wasn't quite aware, but they were sharing that they feel pressured that they, need to make, all organic baby food from their garden, and they need to, do all these different things. And now they felt that meditation was actually this other stressor, and that if they weren't doing it and they were building it up into themselves, into this stressful thing, and it didn't look like they had seen it, I don't know, on TikTok or the internet. And I told them, meditation is so personal and it's beautiful. And, whether you are lighting a candle in your room and using aromatherapy oil, or whether it means, you're jumping on a trampoline and counting the jumps that you do, and that's kind of your rhythmic meditation. It's very personal to you. And it shouldn't look like anybody else's practice because it's your own. And so I think the first thing you have to do is just don't look at what anybody else shows you it should look like. Just let it be what's your peaceful, soothing thing to do. So the first step is really to choose a focus point. And that can be anything that works for you or your child, whatever sense. Being a special ed teacher, I'm very used to doing a lot of sensory learning, and meditation is very sensory. I spoke to someone not too long ago, and they were concerned that they had some sort of a breathing illness. I'm not sure if it was asthma or emphysema. It was something. And they said, well, I can't meditate because I can't focus on my breath. And then another parent said to me, well, my child gets nervous with breathing. And I said, well, but there's a million other senses. You don't have to, if you can focus on the breath, and breath is very calming, that's fine. But if you need to focus on something else, that's fine too, because meditation is really just about what area of focus works for you. So here are some different visual focuses that you can use. Candle flame, not good for migraines. I will say that. I know that a lot of people do enjoy meditating with candle flames. Someone with chronic migraine, I do not like anything flickering. I like to meditate when it's relatively dark. But some people that don't have migraines do enjoy looking at the movement of a candle flame. Um, Clouds in the sky. I live out here in Colorado in the Rocky Mountains. If you guys are familiar with that. And I have an area that I can go to where I can just sit on this beautiful bench with rocks, and I can see the mountains, and I can meditate watching the clouds moving across the sky. And I just find that to be so soothing. Um, if you don't like focusing on something visual, especially if you have a migraine, maybe auditory focus. With a migraine, I sometimes enjoy listening to specific HZ frequencies that are for migraines. They don't sound pleasant when you first hear them. I mean, they have a kind of a jarring sound, but I find that HZs that are designed for migraines, and I can't remember which HZ, but you could Google that. I find that to be very soothing. I also enjoy very much listening to the sound of a river when I have a migraine. And then I just will then go into a visualization where I imagine the water washing the pain away and just floating that pain down the river. You can also listen to, soothing music, or the wind in the trees, or a mantra, or the repeated sound of an affirmation. I will use a lot of affirmation meditation with a migraine, mostly because whether it's a migraine or another symptom of illness, my adrenaline will easily get triggered, and I immediately have to calm myself down. So I will start telling myself, it's okay. You're safe now. This is all right. You can deal with this. And I will just kind of talk myself through that. And very quickly, the adrenaline surge is gone. And then I'm able to focus on however I want to meditate in that moment. Don't think you want to probably taste anything with a migraine, but if you don't have a migraine, you can focus on a food or a drink's flavor. The taste maybe of peppermint chewing gum. Um, Scents are something that I really enjoy working with, not always with a migraine, but some essential oils can be soothing to people with migraines. It just depends. Sometimes I can handle a scent, and sometimes I can't. Popular scents or essential oils are for migraine or for meditation are usually citrus, vanilla, peppermint, and lavender. And I know if you're able to meditate outside, it doesn't really rain in Colorado, but the air after rain is a really soothing smell that I can actually take myself back to before I lived in Colorado. And I love just the imagining just the freshness of air after rain. But I'm assuming that it rains a little more in Ireland. So you all might be able to enjoy that, or the smell of fresh cut grass. I know a lot of people just kind of feel that connection to earth with that smell. So scent can be another focus for you. And then there's, physical sensations, sensations in your body, the texture, weight, or shape of an object. And this is what I did with Max very often with meditation. We focused a lot on texture and feeling something in his hand, whether it was, or with my students, aromatherapy, therapy dough that we had in the classroom that had various scents, and they could feel the smoothness, or move the clay into a different shape in their hand and focus on that. Um, so there's really, and we used a lot of like fidget toys as well to meditate with. Again, with my students, it wasn't with very often with migraines, although some of them would have a lot of tension headaches. Um, but as you can see, really anything can be an object of focus and meditation. Even for some children, stroking their service dog is just feeling the dog's fur and just kind of their heartbeat under their hand. I have on We Meditate our character Weasel, who I guess is, yeah, Weasel's up on the screen right now. Weasel has a service dog. So we have some specific meditations that children can do with their service dog. Um, so I think the good news is for everyone, adults and kids, there's always something that you can find that's special and meaningful to you that you can use as part of your meditation practice. And you can also very easily move between different types of objects, whether it's in the meditation that you're doing at that moment, or if you're meditating at different times of the day, maybe you want to, like last night, I meditated a variety of times, and I did a walking meditation at one point where I was simply counting my steps in a rhythm. It was just focusing literally on 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then I moved it up to 10, and then I moved it up to 20. And then would my mind wander? Yes, but then I brought it back to counting my steps. And then I did another meditation in the evening, and it was a chanting meditation, and I had some music. So I will vary my meditation practice often throughout the day. And I think that's especially important for children because they have shorter attention spans. You're not going to sit a child down and just, okay, we're going to meditate now, and you're going to do this one thing for 30 minutes. No, it's not going to be that way. But when you find the different types of meditation, which we'll get into, that they like, and the object that they're focusing on can change. It's like anything else. When you're teaching little children, you're constantly changing. When you teach a lesson to a little one, especially younger children with disabilities, you're always doing something different. So your meditation practice does not need to be just one thing for a certain amount of time. It can be however long you want, and you can change your object of focus even in the middle of it. And I think that's a misconception. I think people think, well, I started with breath, and by golly, I'm going to finish with this breath if it's the last thing I do. No, just do with what, listen to your body. Part of meditation is listening to your body and what it wants to do, and it'll guide you once you learn to listen to it. So, how exactly do you focus in meditation? And this is where I think it's often difficult for parents of children with disabilities, or even people with disabilities, because a lot of meditation instruction, and I do see this even when I was taking my classes to be certified in meditation, it was not really that inclusive. And I wound up talking to my meditation instructor, who had a lot more degrees than I did, and did a lot more kind of guru type things that I've never done. But I told him, I said, you can lay down when you meditate. You don't have to be sitting, straight up in the air. I mean, yes, there are certain times when you might want to have a certain posture, but if you can't do that, then meditation isn't accessible for you. So you can do it laying down if that's comfortable. If you want to be walking, if you, especially for children with attention deficit disorders, they can't sit very often. And so they meditate best while walking. Or, like I said, using wheels. You can do a walking meditation or a moving meditation in a wheelchair. I've had students in my classroom, even my own kids when they were little, we had a mini trampoline. I had a mini trampoline in my classroom, and some of them would jump and meditate. And someone would say, well, they're not meditating. I said, well, yes, they are, because they're focusing. I would have drumming going, and they would be jumping to the beat of the drum, and that drumming, and there's actually articles about drumming for children on our website. Drumming is a meditative practice. It's been used for thousands of years. in, the old days with the shamans and whatever, it would kind of be what they used to get into trance. So kids enjoy drumming. They'll drum on anything, and that can, when it's taught as this is our relaxation time and this is our meditation time, but we're doing it in this way, they do understand in time. At first, are they going to get a little goofy? Yes, but in time, that becomes their way to meditate. I've had children in my classroom with hammocks and swings, and that have used the rhythmic movement of the swing or the rocking of our little rocking chair. And that's really good for, vestibular stimulation in certain ways. Again, maybe not with a migraine, but there's a lot of different ways that you can meditate. So remember, you don't need to be on that beach or that mountaintop. You can meditate in whatever way feels right for you or your child. Um, I always say, once you know what you want to focus on and what the best way for you to focus is, then you can start meditating. I think it's usually best, especially with children, to start for a short period of time. And people say, well, everybody wants a parameter. Well, how long is that? Well, it's however long it feels right for you and it feels right for the child. You're going to introduce meditation to a child at a time when they're calm. You're not gonna pull it out at the grocery store in the checkout line when they're screaming for a candy bar. You wanna teach meditation at first at a time when they're really receptive. So we teach meditation and we meditate always through stories, because children usually will always kind of want to stop and listen to a story. And it's a very engaging way for kids to be drawn into something. And we have a lot of articles on how to teach meditation to children on our website that you can dig in deeper to. But a lot of times it's helpful if you have a designated space, or you can make a little meditation area. Is that a requirement? No. And can you meditate anywhere? Yes, you can meditate on a school bus, in an airport, anywhere you can meditate. But I think when you're teaching something, it really is helpful to have a space where they know, okay, this is what I'm going to do now. And especially for children with autism or autism spectrum disorders, or even children that I've taught with intellectual disabilities that are using maybe a visual calendar, scheduling meditation time, just like you schedule anything else, kind of shows them that this is important. This is something that we do, and then you explain, this is something that we're going to do for our health. It's going to help us feel better. And you kind of then remind them, gosh, remember after you meditated or you relaxed, whatever word you use, how much better you felt. And or maybe you didn't get as mad when your brother took the last cookie. You kind of had a little, you wouldn't probably use emotional regulation, but you can say, remember how much better you felt. Because that's what I would do with my students. And then meditate with them or even yourself for as long as it feels right, whether it's 5 seconds, 5 minutes, or 50 minutes. You'll know when your attention has wandered too much and it's just not working. Even for myself, I'll kind of sit out to maybe meditate for a longer period of time. And then I'm like, you know what, I've done enough now. I feel better. And then you move on. You don't berate yourself. Oh, it was only 5 minutes. It should have been this. It shouldn't be anything. It should be what you want it to be. And there's another really big trend now. It's called micro meditation. And I know that there's research being done on this. We've written an article about it up on our website. But there's research now that's showing that meditating throughout the day for little short bursts of time is really beneficial. So these little short bursts add up during the day. So maybe that looks like for you, maybe you do a little bit of breath work early in the morning, and then maybe you do a little progressive muscle relaxation at this time, or you take a little break and you watch the clouds against the sky, and you're just basically incrementally adding up these little mini meditation moments in your day. But then at the end of the day, they're finding, and there is research that shows that this is really beneficial for mental and physical health. So that's something else that kind of, I think, relaxes people, that they don't have to worry that they're not getting in this certain amount of meditation time. Um, Another thing I also want to mention is just, again, is really the tension that people put on meditation. Um, I was with my husband and some friends over the weekend, and the one guy was knows that I'm a meditation teacher, knows about we meditate, and he was telling me, he's like, I'm really trying really hard to get into accessing my pineal gland, and he was saying, but I can't get there, and and he was just really working himself up into this kind of this frenzy that he couldn't get to the state that he wanted to get at. And I said to him, well, have you ever just kind of tried to just relax and enjoy your meditation time without having that kind of a massive goal that he was putting on himself? And he was like, well, I think I have to get to that point. And I said, but see, once you start putting a have to on it, you've kind of really defeated the purpose of meditation. And then I, suggested some music he could listen to. And I actually got a text from him the other day, and he said that his meditation was going better because he had released some of that pressure. So I think that's a really important thing. Meditation should just really be a no pressure zone. I get this question a lot too. Is it possible to meditate with a migraine? And as someone who does have migraines, I totally get it. And yes, you can. Meditation, again, it looks different for you, and it looks different every time you meditate. So you will know what feels good to you at a time that you aren't feeling well. Whether it's a symptom like debilitating pain or nausea or whatever your symptoms are, there is something that can work for you, but that might just simply be laying in your bed and saying some affirmations or listening to a river flowing. Might not be chanting, it might not be something that you might enjoy at another time, but there's always something that you can do meditatively to relax for yourself or for your child. Um, Meditation can be a wonderful distraction from pain. So again, it looks different. There's so many ways to do it. It's not just one thing, it's many things, and you will find with practice what works for you and for your child. So people always want steps and rules, and kind of really not about rules, but here's some 3 steps to meditate with a migraine. Um, the first one is set an intention. Um, Intention setting does not mean you're forcing anything to happen. And it doesn't mean that you're doing anything other than accepting the present moment as it is. But it's an important part of meditation because it's kind of like a direction to your subconscious mind to send energy to make your intention happen. So you basically set the intention and then you let it go. You're not sitting there like, my gosh, I'm gonna, I've set an intention to get rid of this migraine and I'm getting rid of it. And it's not like that. It's just a gentle, I'm setting an intention that after meditating, I'll feel more calm and peaceful. Or maybe after meditating, my headache will feel better, but you're letting it go. You're just kind of putting that out there. You're kind of like, it's almost like a little wish to the universe. And then you just kind of let that go. It's like, I kind of tell people that intentions are like little invisible guideposts. They're like little signs in the road, but they direct your mind and body down healthy and healing pathways. Um, so again, an intention does not mean it's like this massive goal setting that you're forcing. Meditation is never about forcing. Um, the second thing is treat your migraine, your symptoms, and yourself with care and kindness. And this is like really important, especially for people with chronic illnesses. You tend often to be very hard on yourself and you get very angry with your migraine. You get angry that you're missing work or you're not feeling well, or if it's your child that isn't feeling well, you feel a lot of stress and anxiety because you want them to feel better. And all that really does is kind of raises your cortisol and your adrenaline, and it gets you out of that peaceful flow state. But when you get into that flow state of allowing and flowing, your body just naturally relaxes and you often find symptom relief. So treat your migraine with kindness and teach your child to treat their symptoms with kindness as well. Um, Self compassion is a component of meditation, and you should really take great care to love all the parts of you, especially the parts of you that are ill or are hurting. Um, there's just this wonderful sense of comfort and release that comes with loving your migraine and its symptoms. And I actually wrote a meditation that Deirdre, I think, is going to be putting up or is up on the Migraine Ireland website. It's a meditation for children, and it's called "Owl Has a Headache." And in that meditation, and it is a children's meditation, and fortunately, I don't voice any of our meditations because I am not a voice artist, but our wonderful actually, the Migraine Ireland meditation for Owl Has a Headache is actually a Irish voice artist from County Cork. He has an amazing voice. But in this meditation, Owl has a migraine, and he really learns how to love his migraine. And it's just really soothing when you learn how to talk to your migraine, almost as if it's a friend that you want to care for. It just takes a lot of that stress and anxiety away. You don't feel that you need to run from it. You don't need to change it or escape it. You can just allow it to be there with whatever symptoms it has. And it's really very relaxing. I know that it sounds kind of crazy, um, but I've done that myself. I've taught my children to do it. And again, it's in the meditations that I've written for Deirdre to use, and also at this major teaching hospital that is using my meditations. And then meditate in a way that's right for you and your child. Meditation is very personal, and especially if you or your child are meditating when you don't feel well, do whatever feels soothing and relaxing to you. And whatever that is right for you at this time. Um, so I'm going to briefly share now some especially calming meditation practices that work well for those who have a migraine, but always remember, you know yourself and your body best. Um, Always ask your child what type of meditation they want to practice, would like to practice, and if they want to practice at all. If they don't, then that's okay. You can try again another time. Um, Meditation, again, should never be forced. And I always say that it's best to teach meditation to children when they are feeling well, when they're calm and relaxed, not when they're tired, hungry, or in the middle of a meltdown. But if you have never meditated before, and you've never had your child meditate, that doesn't mean that you can't remember this presentation and think that, oh, okay, I've got a migraine now, I want to try. You can certainly try any of these practices whenever you want, but really to always get the best out of learning something, you learn best when you're in a calm and relaxed state. Um, and always be gentle with yourself. And remember, this is a practice meant to reduce tension, not to cause it. And like anything else, always get the permission of your child's medical provider. Um, I don't know that there's many downsides to using meditation, especially with children if they're presented in a gentle story-like fashion. I don't teach meditation to children trying to get into any kind of altered states of consciousness or anything. With meditation, there can be considerations for trauma-based meditation, in where some children and or adults who have experienced trauma might experience a flare if they are just too long quietly trying to just focus on basically nothing. That is not the kind of meditation that I teach, especially in story meditation. But you just want to be careful if you are just trying. And I would never recommend to a child to have them just sitting in silence, because that's when certain things can get stirred up. I prefer more gentle practices that are child friendly, even for adults, because I really feel that meditation should be just about gentle relaxing. And I don't like to see people, especially with anxiety, spending too much time trying to get that silent mind thing. That's not the type of meditation that I practice. So there's so many common types of meditation. Um, these types I feel are best for migraine, and they are visualization practices, affirmation practices, progressive muscle relaxation or body scan, loving kindness meditation, and story meditations. With any of these practices, they can be guided or they can be unguided. So, a guided meditation means you're following along to a meditation teacher, either via audio, video, or in person. In an unguided meditation, also called silent meditation, you're meditating without a teacher guiding you. Almost any meditation technique can be guided or unguided. For beginners, for kids, and people who enjoy following along with a voice, a guided meditation is an easy way to keep your focus. And then you don't have to worry, if you're not a meditation teacher, on how to, create your own meditation for yourself. For more experienced meditators or those who prefer not to hear a voice, an unguided meditation can offer you the ability to practice for as long as you want and kind of custom create your own meditation experience. I know for myself, especially with migraines, um, I don't a lot of times sound. I don't like background music. That's why when we meditate, for our meditation platform, every meditation is offered with or without music. That's to consider children with migraines, but also children with sensory sensitivities. So again, either practice can work for you, either guided or unguided. So for visualization, um, this is one of the most popular practices, especially for little ones. Um, in this type of meditation, you harness your imagination to create soothing mental pictures that engage all of the senses. So this could look like imagining you're under a healing waterfall, or for a child with a migraine or chronic pain, imagining that they have a magic button or a lever that kind of can dial down or soothe the pain of migraine or other symptoms. Kids might imagine themselves in a magical world. Our world is Dragon's world, where they are a superhero and there's magic or a magic wand that touches their pain, or magic fairy dust. Kids really enjoy fantasy, especially little ones, but I do know adults enjoy that as well. So this can be guided or unguided, and your imagination is really the limit. I find visualization for myself is one of the most powerful things when I have a migraine. Again, I'm a storyteller, so I'll tell myself all kinds of different stories. I'm often in a forest. I'm often in the redwood forest, which I don't know if you guys have redwood trees in Ireland, but they're these massive trees. And I've been to the redwood forest, and these trees just are, I think they're the biggest, oldest trees in the world. And I will just put myself there and I'll visualize the forest, and I'll, imagine the smell, and really grounding myself to the earth. And it really kind of can take me out of the pain that I'm experiencing in my body and put me in this relaxing environment that is actually very healing. Another really powerful meditation practice for distraction, especially for me with migraine, is affirmation. So this is just basically where you repeat words or phrases that will challenge negative thoughts and even challenge the pain. Now, again, I'm not saying with this that you're forcing the pain to go away and that you're putting forth a strenuous effort to change something, but it's more like a calming, repetitive way to kind of distract you from the pain and to empower you to change your mindset from one of pain and illness to one of positivity and just feelings of overall well-being. Um, So I might say to myself, I'm okay even with pain. I'll talk to myself, Jan, you're all right. Even with this migraine, you are okay right now. Or, Jan, you're going to feel better very soon. And I'll just kind of repeat those things. If I've taken medicine, I'll talk to myself, oh, the medicine is working through me right now. It's flowing through my body like a river. It's gently healing all the things that hurt. And I will kind of then go into a visualization where, and again, I'm a meditation teacher and a storyteller. I will visualize colors. I will visualize a river. I might visualize a sun or the moon or fairy dust or whatever. And I will literally visually um, visualize the part of me that is hurting as a shape. And I might fill the shape with color as I'm saying affirmations. So I start doing a whole lot of different things, but it's very relaxing. I'm enjoying it. It's certainly not with any stress. For little ones, I will um, make sure that the affirmations that they say are very real and believable. You never want to say an affirmation like, I have no pain, nothing is wrong, because you won't believe it and the child won't believe it. So affirmations always need to be believable. So I will have my kids, well, when they were little, I would have them say something like, I'm okay even with pain, or I have a migraine, but it's okay. I always get better. My medicine is working now. So just different things that feel calming to you, that feel believable to the child. And just say them as many times as you need to until you relax. And then, like I said, you might want to go into a visualization, a river, you're strong like a mountain, whatever imagery feels good to you, whatever words feel good to you is what I recommend. Progressive muscle relaxation, or PMR, is when you tense and then release a group of muscles. You can start at your head and work down to your toes to your head, but you're um, tensing and then releasing. And I don't typically do this with a migraine. I will do a body scan, but I'll get to that. But progressive muscle relaxation can be especially helpful when you're not in pain because it helps you recognize when your body is feeling tense. And it helps you notice the difference between how your muscles feel when they're tense and how your muscles feel when they're relaxed. Now, one of my kids really enjoyed progressive muscle relaxation during a migraine. So again, I always say it's what works for you and your child. But he would enjoy tensing things up and then feeling the release. And then he would then imagine tensing his head and feeling the release. So some people do find that practice helpful with migraine. A body scan is very similar to a progressive muscle relaxation in that you are also focusing on your body, but it's more just like kind of scanning your body, going, from your head to your toes to your head, and just kind of noticing what's your body feeling right now. You feeling a little tension? Are you feeling a little this or a little that? Whatever sensation it has, it's okay. It's just fine that if it's there, let it be there. You're just kind of acknowledging it. And then if you notice an area that feels a little tense or tight or is painful, then you might want to do a visualization or something to just kind of relax it, or imagine then, or tense it and relax it and just promote the muscle relaxation and healing. I think I might have touched on this, but in a body scan, you might incorporate this soothing imagery, a gentle color, a ball or a ray of energy, a sparkling light, or anything else that you might want to feel touching, soothing, and relieving the pain. Um, we have a meditation for We Meditate, where I think it's Owl, uses like a crayon and kind of colors his pain away. Again, not forcing it, but just kind of imagining maybe warm or cool. What do you want to feel? I know with a migraine, I like to feel cool, but sometimes I also like to feel warmth around my neck. So I might visualize like a wrap kind of warming me, but maybe a cool blue in the shape where the migraine pain is. And you just kind of relax with that imagery. Um, Kids just love the magic. They enjoy, imagining a magic wand or magical waves of water or fairy dust. Again, I think I mentioned like an old-fashioned radio. You could show them, an image of an old-fashioned radio with a dial, and you can imagine them turning the dial down on their pain. Again, the shape of their pain, filling it with healing color, warmth, cool, whatever feels good to them is something, or to you is what you can do. And it's actually really effective. I mean, again, meditation isn't something like you take a wonder pill and poof, your migraine is gone. But in time and with practicing these techniques, you really tend to find that your mind can help control your body. Yes, migraine is physical. I get asked that a lot. Um, all of the illnesses that our families and the nonprofits that use We Meditate for children with serious illnesses, all of the illnesses are real and they are physical things. And meditation isn't saying, oh, this is in your mind. I have an invisible illness. I understand this. But what research is showing is that your mind is a very powerful tool to help relax your body, and with that relaxation, healing can take place. Again, I'm not saying that you meditate once or your child does and poof, the migraine is gone. But in time, you can help yourself feel better in the moment and better over time. Um, so I think body scans and progressive muscle relaxation is something that is really helpful for migraine. Um, Loving kindness meditations are just, oh, they're one of my favorite kinds of meditation. They're also known as metta meditation, and they involve sending kind, loving wishes to yourself, to your loved ones, and to others. Um, Most people do loving kindness meditations, listening to them audibly, because, and there's scripts that you can get. We do loving kindness meditations, and there's scripts. But what loving kindness meditations do is they just bring about this sense of peace and love and compassion to yourself and to others, to someone that you maybe don't know very well. And you're just basically saying, may you be well. May all good things flow to you. May you feel peaceful. May blessings come to you like a river. And then you move on. They're very repetitive. And then you give the same wishes to a neighbor or an animal. Kids love doing it to animals. I've taught kids loving kindness meditations where we literally are wishing loving kindness wishes to, every fish, animal, bird. We do it to the rivers, we do it to the trees, we do it to the oceans. And it kind of also gives you mentally a sense of connection to others, to nature, to the world. And it's just a very peaceful practice. Um, like all the other practices that we meditate and this presentation are based on, loving kindness or metta meditations are a research-based practice. So these practices are being researched in major medical institutions, and the research is showing that loving kindness meditation helps relieve pain and symptoms of illness. And I think with loving kindness, again, this is just my opinion, but I think it's because it just generates these feelings of love and compassion, and it just kind of reduces feelings of pain in you. It takes your attention off of yourself and your pain. And, I know especially with my little ones, my students, when you're connecting or focusing on, blessing the bunny running through the garden, or, the ocean, and kids just so love nature, it just kind of makes you feel one with the universe, one with nature. And it's just a very calming practice. I love loving kindness meditation. Story meditations. That's kind of my thing here. That is what We Meditate is based on. And Story meditation is just exactly what it says it is. It is a type of meditation where techniques are woven into a storyline. There are story meditations for adults. We do them for children, but get a lot of emails and messages from adults that actually use We Meditate with themselves as well. But we have, for We Meditate, we have a little world, and it's a soothing world in nature. Um, Story meditations are usually guided, unless you're like me and you tell yourself stories all the time. Um, they're very helpful because any meditation practice can be told through a story. Um, so they're super effective at teaching meditation concepts to kids and adults because, as I said, we all love to listen to a story. They're wonderful for migraines because you don't have to do anything. You can just hit play and you listen to a narrator and you are just gently guided through a meditation practice. Um, Story meditations combine the elements of lots of other meditation techniques. They use visualization, affirmation, body scan, loving kindness, and they just present them in a really engaging way, which distracts your mind from pain and just takes you into another place. I know for pain and illness, story is so powerful because it takes you away from the moment. Our platform, We Meditate, as I mentioned, is being used by families of children with severe pediatric illnesses, some children with pediatric cancer, and the parents often share with me that they have a hard time leaving their child at the hospital when it's time for them to leave. And a lot of times they will pull up We Meditate on their iPad or their tablet, and the child will be excited because they're going to go meditate with Dragon. And so it's that sense of distraction and a sense of maybe community because you're taking yourself somewhere else. Um, you can find story meditations really anywhere for adults and kids online. We Meditate has them. They're all over YouTube. And like I said, our specific meditation for children, Owl has a headache. Deirdre will be putting it up on Migraine Ireland, and that's free that you can listen to when it's up. I think we might have that up on We Meditate, but I'm not sure yet. I don't do all the tech stuff here. But just wanted to let you know, in summary, meditation is not a quick fix. It's not just like this wonder pill that just instantly takes away all of your symptoms. I wish that it were. I kind of see meditation more of like a way of life. It's just kind of like a gentle way of treating yourself and the world. And with that gentleness that I think meditation brings, it brings a lot of gentleness and peace and relaxation into your everyday. I think it's a wonderful complement to yours or your child's migraine treatment plan. Um, I kind of see meditation kind of like its own person. It's kind of like a friend or a superpower that can really help you feel calm or peaceful anytime or anywhere. So again, if you can have a meditation place, I think that's wonderful. But meditation is something that really is a part of you. It's inside of you. You can access it anytime, anywhere, no matter how you're feeling. Um, and it's a practice that can help you feel better, feel less anxious. You might find more often you meditate that your migraine feels better or your medicine works quicker. I just find it to be very empowering. And I found that with my students as well. Not all of my students had migraines, but they had a lot of different physical and mental health challenges. And it was always something that they could do in the moment to help themselves feel better. No one has to know what you're doing. You can be sitting on a train and you can be meditating and no one has any idea what you're doing. I always tell my little ones, it's your like secret magic superpower that you can use, and it really does help you feel a lot better. Um, So, um, Deirdre, if you want to open this time up now for any questions, and then I actually have a guided meditation practice that we can do if you'd like to stay for that. Again, this is a meditation that I wrote specifically for our time today. I've cut it down because my meditations can usually be quite long. And again, I'm a meditation teacher and a writer and a storyteller, but I am not a voiceover artist. So just realize that. But this is called a Riverside Tea for All of Me. I invite you now to relax with me as we journey to the riverside to have some tea. Ease into this time and space. This is your gentle healing place. You can close your eyes if you like, but feel free to leave them open. If it's comfortable for you, take a few slow, deep breaths. You might imagine that you are inhaling calm and exhaling stress. Each inhale fills you with a sense of peace. Each exhale lets go of what you want to release. Join me now and imagine that you are walking down a path in a beautiful forest. You feel very safe here. This is a place that you want to be. You see beautiful, lush trees all around you. As you walk down the winding path, you feel the soft earth beneath your feet. You inhale and you smell the scent of wildflowers and pine. The wind touches your hair and you smell peppermint leaves and forest greens. With each step, you relax more and more. In the distance, you hear the distant whisper of rushing water. You follow the sound and find yourself on a riverbank, watching clear crystal water tumble over rocks. A mist appears in front of you, and when it clears, a soft blanket covers the ground. There is a silver tray with a china pot and a warm cup of tea. You settle in on the blanket with your cup of tea. It is time for tea for all of me. Imagine now that my words are your voice speaking to every part of you. Enjoy now a riverside tea for all of me. Welcome, welcome, all of me. Let's sit by the riverside and have some tea. Heart, you are the heartbeats that give me life. Lungs, you filter the air that I breathe. Beautiful body, you are the vessel of my soul. Welcome to all parts of me that feel sick, tired, and in pain. Welcome anxiety, frustration, and sadness. You are welcome here. You are always welcome. We can sit by the riverbank together as friends. Let's feel the healing water flowing through every part of me. You are okay right now. I love you. I am here for you. To all the parts of me that are sad or in pain, it's okay. You're okay. You don't need to change. I love all of you. I love all of me, just as I am. To each part of me, you are worthy. You are enough. You belong. And I love you. Let's sit for a moment now with our cup of tea and enjoy these feelings of calm and comfort and care. I am surrounded by love. I am surrounded by healing. I am filled with relaxation. Like the river, wild and free, healing waters gently flow through me. It was so nice to have tea with all of me. You can imagine now finishing your tea and placing your cup on the silver tray. Take a minute and bring your attention back to the sound of the river. Let the healing water fill you with comfort and peace. It washes away your tension. You feel all your pain and stress release. You are calm. You are peaceful. All is exactly as it should be. All is well. You can come back to the river whenever you wish. But now it is time to walk back along the soft, winding path through the forest and back into this present moment. If your eyes were closed, you can open them. You might want to stretch or move gently. You are back here in this time and this space where you connected with your healing place. Thank you for meditating with me today. And if there is anything ever that I can do to support you in meditation, please know that you can always reach out to me. We have our website is www.wemeditate.com, and we have free meditations up on our website. There are pictures in the sky, mouse and the fireflies, deer in the crystal cave. I think we have a few up on Insight Timer as well. If you want to learn any more about any of the topics that we've covered for adults or for kids, again, our website has tons of articles. It's basically geared to help children, but they're also very helpful for adults. We also have something called Dragon's Meditation Club, which is a free newsletter that every issue is basically written for adults to read to children. So in that newsletter, you almost get like a meditation picture book or a meditation activity, mini meditation that you can read to and do with your child, and that's completely free. I just want to thank you so much for coming and learning more about meditation. And I hope that this talk left you with some ideas and feeling empowered and ready to begin your meditation journey.